What is going on, everybody? Another episode of First Blood today. Today I'm joined by none other than my co-host Alan, the GOAT himself, Hold Shift, and we got a special guest today. We got Sam Phoenix coming on. If you guys don't know who this is, it is the coach of the Seattle Surge, the brain behind the squad. How you doing, man?
Doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on. How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic, bro.
Doing good, man. I don't think I've ever heard you this low key before in my life, by the way. You you seem like you're kind of like reserved right now, and I like it, but I'm also caught completely off guard by it.
Yeah. I mean, we got Major 2 coming up. I'm just saving all my energy for that.
All right, that's fair.
He's in his duffel bag, Alan. In his duffel bag. I said all the time. He's gotta be.
All right.
But no, we're gonna be talking about a lot of things Call of Duty today. Obviously, it's a CDL pre-show, right? We're gonna be doing a little bit of a recap from yesterday's crazy games. I think across the board. I just want to go out and say I was 4 for 4 in calls yesterday. I was spot on across every single team, and even some of the map counts. I think I've got these coin flip series down, Alan. I think I got it down, man.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. Slack gets in his first lead of the year in the predictions points, and all of a sudden the brain turns as big as the hair. It's crazy.
Okay, you know that's why I had to contain myself. I had to put on the hat today, just put the hair down a little bit. But I'm ready to get right into things, and we'll talk a lot about Seattle and Sam Phoenix because the first series of the day yesterday was Seattle Surge going up against LA Thieves, right? And I know we joked about it yesterday. This was what Ben was saying as the blow it up bowl. But I don't want to treat it as that. I know I've talked a lot to you, Sam, through DMs and in person at the kickoff and whatnot. Just a lot about this team. And I think throughout this year, you guys have had a lot of ups and downs. It's kind of been like a roller coaster, right? Like you've had some good moments, then you've had some probably unfortunate moments that you wish could go other ways. But yesterday, you guys got the job done. You guys are back on the board. And I think it's Alan and I were talking a lot yesterday how it's a very big match going into a major, right? Like you want to go off on a dub going into a big LAN tournament. So kind of talk to me a little bit about the team flow, kind of the mentality. And I know we were talking right before the show started, just it's a lot of learning for these young guys. You're trying to figure out, how to basically train them to be smart, but use the skill and talent that they have and create some consistency.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We built this team. There's 3 20-year-olds on it. The most seasoned player we have, everyone knows, is Lamar. And, even, he has been growing and developing still as a player and as a leader. But we expected it with these young guys. When I brought Pred in, I knew he was from APAC. There's going to be adjusting periods for him. And for rookies, for any rookie, there's always you hit what I call like that rookie wall. And you kind of I wouldn't say hit a slump, but you're kind of stuck like, man, people are figuring me out now, or this is happening. I don't feel like I can do this anymore. But the ones who are really talented, like Pred and like Sib, they figure it out pretty quick. It was their first time facing adversity, in my opinion, too. We go to the major, we lose to Optic, all the maps are close. We play Paris and we lose, and that was like the first like real adversity that they came across in the CDL. And I think that's kind of what dampened them a little bit. As a team, we just weren't on the same page for like a solid month. And then I started getting a lot tougher on people. Kind of what I would say like brought Coach Phoenix out of the closet and started, drilling people super hard. If I saw them messing up on one single thing, like instantly on their head about it. But we have great leaders like Lamar. Like when we hit this dip, I knew having someone like Lamar with me was going to be massive to help pull the team out of it. And we hit that period, that down period. It happens to every team during the season. The only difference is like what teams break during that adversity and what teams fight through that adversity. And most people that have a young team like us don't fight through that adversity. Like they break. So the fact that we fought through it and we're climbing our way back from Major 2 is a great sign for us right now. I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And Alan, I don't know if you wanted to touch on that a little bit even more, but I've thoroughly been, Alan and I've had lots of conversations about your guys' team over the last few weeks. And I would say overall, like you guys are one of the rosters that has like, I think, like you said, kind of overcome adversity in a way. Like most of your series, even when you guys are falling short, like you guys are keeping them very competitive. You guys haven't really gotten blown out of the water by any means. And I think you guys have kind of done a good job of handling business when need be. So I'm excited to see what you guys can continue to do through this major, and hopefully, I know there's a lot of things we'll talk about later too about different outcomes, but for you guys to start in the winners bracket.
Yeah. I think my biggest thing for you, Sam, and we've actually never talked about this personally, even though we've circled around each other since BO4, really. People don't really understand that, like, you came through a lot of success coaching in the Challengers or Open division. You know, you had the Nation of Power team in BO4, obviously the Singularity run through Modern Warfare, and then the Easter Wester stuff from Cold War. Kind of take the people through like what that process is, like how maybe you yourself also grow as a coach, because all those teams that are mentioned all had extremes amounts of success throughout the times that you were coaching them. Some of it right off the rip, some of it was developed just kind of from the ground up. So, you know, can maybe time to take the people through like your process, like as an individual, and like what that means to you growing as a coach, not just the players that you were coaching yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't start during BO4. That's kind of like when success hit a little bit more. Nation of Power, you know, that was just like, that was kind of random how that came about. But after that ended, I didn't have a team, and I met Insight at Anaheim in BO4, and I was sitting there, and like I was outside losing full, and he walks up to me, starts talking to me, and he's like, coaching a team? I was like, not right now. And he's like, you should coach us after this event for Miami. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, we have a good team. He brought up like Kleenex. I'm like, who's Kleenex?
And, if only you knew.
And I was like the tissue? He's like, no, it's not spelled like that. And I was like, oh, okay. And, you know, met the team, and like going into Miami, you know, we did well. And then we obviously did really good at champs. And going into MW, I was still allowed rambunctious coach, but I'd met my agent at that point. And my agent was actually someone that helped me develop like a lot. You said something about me being reserved. Yeah, like I haven't been this reserved in my entire life. It took a lot of maturing. I had to realize that I had to calm down a bit. Not be so loud and rambunctious. I only get that way for my team, and that's it now. But there was like a maturity curve I had to hit with as a coach, because players can act a certain way and get away with it, and I didn't understand where that line was for players and coaches both. So I would kind of overstep that line a lot, and I had to become a lot more reserved and a lot more professional as a coach in order to even be in this position right now. So there's definitely a learning curve there. And then going into Cold War, like MW, I had an average placement of like 2.4 with my team.
It was good.
Yeah, it was insane. And then last year, obviously Wester, you know, went on a 4-peat, running everyone's pockets last year. And then my whole team gets picked up besides me and Tom. And then we make a new team, and we go on a 3-peat or another 4-peat or something like that. And after that point, like Seattle had came to me, like it was obvious their team was not in a good space, and they wanted to make a change. So I stopped working during the challenger scene so I could focus on the next season. And in that time period, I used that time period to like talk to Pred and other people like that, because I already knew what I wanted. If I got a spot and I could make my own team, I already knew what I wanted. I was like, I don't want to rebuild teams with recycled players. I want to get a bunch of young players. It's what I'm best at working with. Proof, like my BO4 Singularity team, every single player on that team was 19. Like I work really well with young players. Every player on this team right now is 20 besides Lamar. He's the only old person. So, you know, like getting to the point that I'm at now was definitely a challenge. And I'll even say during this year, I've learned a lot. Like so much is different up here. I mean, it's obvious to say, but so much is different up here compared to challengers. Like Lamar has taught me a lot of stuff. If there's one person I will like consistently give gas to, like consistently, is Lamar. I've never met someone that smart in my life, like Call of Duty wise. Like he is intelligent. Like I had him sit down and break down a rotation from P3 to P4 in Berlin of another team, just so I could kind of get an insight like how his mind worked and how he'd break it down. And I was appalled. I I was like, I've never seen someone break something down like this before, bro. Like, I credit myself for being pretty intelligent, and I was watching him do this, and I'm like, I'll listen. This guy will call people out. This guy's probably sitting in you pre-aiming me, and the guy's sitting in you pre-aiming him. I'm like, how does he know these things? how do you know this
stuff? Let's be honest.
I look over his monitor. I'm like, are you cheating? I'm like, there's no way you know this. But in all seriousness, like, Lamar has taught me a lot, and being up here is just what's different to me is, one, the pace, and two, you feel every loss.
Sure.
Like, when you lose, we lost 5 in a row. I felt that. Like, that was a very heavy weight. You're like, man, we have to win. And it just happened to be our bounce back win was Faze. Like, again.
Pretty big bounce back win.
Yeah. Shout out Crowder. Crowder is the GOAT, though. Love that guy. He's helped me a lot this year, too.
So now you guys are in a spot where, obviously, riding off a little bit of a high, you were able to cap off on an LA Thieves team that, you know, has been pretty vulnerable over the course of this stage, but we're still kind of in limbo about tiebreaker for Major 2. So, like, what's like your team's biggest focus going into Major 2 quickly before we start recapping yesterday's games?
Like, obviously, everyone wants to start in winners. There's a good chance that we do. There's a very small chance that we don't. But right now, what we're focused on, regardless of where we start, is just continuing to do what we've been doing over the course of the last 2 to 3 weeks and staying on top of our stuff, you know, putting in the long days that we've been putting in. That's really where our focus lies. Like, we don't look at, oh, well, this team has to win this or this team has to win that. We're like, all right, well, we did our part.
Yeah.
And if it pans out for us, then we got a second chance. If it doesn't, then that's on us, and we'll take that, and we'll make our run through losers. But we'll see how it pans out, though, today. Definitely going to be interesting to watch for sure. There'll definitely be some celebrating if it goes our way for sure. So
Fair.
I love it. Well, Alan, I don't know if you have anything else for him, but I'm glad he kind of touched on a lot of that. I kind of want to talk a little bit about their match yesterday too. The series against LA Thieves. It was obviously a battle. And I know I jokingly said yesterday too, Alan, like, I needed to see Sib and Pred fry, and I think that's exactly what we got. True. I mean, across the board, your guys' whole team played great. You guys look lights out across multiple different modes. And something I just got to talk about too. I know, Alan, you have some plays you want to highlight here in a little bit, but just the S&D plays, man. I don't think I've ever seen a series swing. I talk about it all the time from my competitive days, and there's momentum. It's a real thing. A momentum shift in a series in COD. It doesn't matter what it is. And this, it goes into sports. It goes into esports. It doesn't matter what it is. And like yesterday, if you didn't watch that series, you saw 2 breaking just moments like in one map. I don't know if I've seen that. I seriously don't know if I can think of 2 back-to-back 1v3 clutches as bad as those were. Like, I seriously don't think. I've been playing COD for 10 years at a professional level. I don't think I've seen something like that. It was like unbelievable. If you guys missed it yesterday and didn't watch, basically back-to-back rounds, you had an accuracy 1v3 and then a SIB 1v3. And from that moment on, it was just like, that was the icing on the cake for me. Like, it seemed like you guys just put it in front gear and you guys were just going with it. I mean, it was impressive work. The Iceman, he does it again, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, like, the first round, Mac technically got a 1v2.
That's fast.
And we lost the second round, and we got 2 1v3s. Like, I know how Lamar thinks, and when I see him looking around like that, and then he starts crouching and bot walking towards the bottom, like, I know what's happening. I know it's about to go down, and I seen him grab it, and I was like, surely they're above him windows or something. And he's like 3/4 of the way there to hear Pred go, dude, no way. And he defuses it. And the next round, Dante's up 1v3, kills 1, and after he shot punched Josiah, I was like, this round's over. They lost. I was like, they're not winning a 1v1. Like, the way LAT plays S&D is like very slow, especially when they're in those types of situations. Like, I don't know how they let Dante shot punch him like that, but they definitely did. And after that, I mean, like Jerry said, that was the swing. Because the next map after that, they got drilled. Like
Oh my God,
super.
Oh, that's the ultimate Omega loss full. Like I
Yeah,
don't know
for
if
real.
there's literally regaining from that. Like
Did
as
you
a
hear they're listening map 4?
yeah, is bad. I mean, I just don't know. Like as a player, like I'm sitting here thinking you're a Thieves team here, right? Who's been struggling. Alan, we've talked about them a ton, right? Like they're 0-4 going into this. This series is like, okay, this is like let's get some confidence back under our belt. This is like I wouldn't say it's a must win, but it's a must win in terms of like confidence and just overall morale as a team. And like to lose in that fashion, like after map 1 and then for map 2, to the things that I saw, like I mean, I got to give credit to accuracy for even being able to clutch that. But on the side of LA Thieves, like, what are you even doing, dude? Like, what is going on the map or your thought process? How are you letting someone ninja defuse with 20-something seconds left and he just killed your teammate Church Alley and no one wants to look at it? Like, you got Octane and Envoy. I've never seen Octane back down from a gunfight either like that. I would think he would just chow Lamar every day of the week. But I guess, I don't know. It worries me, and I want to talk a little bit about that too, Alan, just to even get your thoughts again on this LA Thieves team, man, because it's been really, really rough.
Look, you know Study pretty darn well.
Yep.
I know Study kind of, you know, and at least somewhat familiar. When he starts to really go at a team, like that is the worst search and destroy I've ever seen. You know something's wrong because Study's not the guy on a broadcast to go out there and say that kind of stuff. Like, unless it really is that bad. Like, there were no numbers that were safe for Thieves. And it's just like, at a certain point, you have to have at least some sort of internal trust that you guys will be able to watch the right things, or at least communicate how exactly we're going to set up this numbers advantage. Because they were winning almost every first blood engagement, it felt like, or at least we're coming out even throughout those first blood engagements. And for the fact for them to get 1v2'd and then doubled up 1v3, I think there was a 2v4 in there as well.
It was almost 2v4, yeah.
It's like, what are we doing out here?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's just like, I don't know. That's like the Omega loss full. Like, I'm curious to see if they can, if there's any sort of bounce back going into the major. Like, you're going to start in losers now if you're LA Thieves. You know, you're going to have a tough round 1 matchup. I'm pretty sure, depending on if Seattle were to start in winners or not, I think Seattle could potentially play Boston. So it's like you're going to come off and play a team round 1. Potentially, both those teams looked better than LA Thieves. So I don't know. I'm worried about this team, man. I really am. I don't know if they try and swap roles or something going into the major to get some type of morale or type of swagger back. But I don't know. That for me as a player, that's like the Omega loss full. Like Sam even said, like you saw the momentum shift from map 2 to map 3, like as a hot 3-0 in control. It wasn't close, and I think you guys kind of just steamrolled the rest of the series. I mean, across the board, I'm just sitting here looking at even the stats, and like I always tell you, I'm not huge to look at like stats and stuff. I think there's a lot more that goes into Call of Duty, but I mean, you guys dominated, dude. Like everyone on your team has over a 1.13 KD, which is ridiculous. And on the side of LA Thieves, like we've just seen such inconsistent performances out of all of these guys, like time and time again. You just can't. They're not putting it together at all. And I don't know. I'm worried about them. I think they're gonna get into a position here where they are going to try like a new role swap to try and refresh things. And if they're not going to do that, then make a roster change. I know there's been talk amongst, I've heard Nate Shot said some things and whatnot, but I don't know. I'm curious to see what they end up doing and if they can even, if there's a bounce back bone in their body or not.
Bro, Kenny had 7 kills in control, dude. Like, if we were talking about the idea of like what a role swap would look like between Draza and Kenny, like, oh, maybe they could think about it. I think after that performance yesterday, you just have to make it. You just have to do it because you can't just go out there and go 7 and like 22 on a control. You can't have it.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think on the side of even Surge too, it's just like one of those things where they had so much confidence going in. I think that was like the biggest lose full map of all time, like played out of an LA Thieves team. Like I don't think there was any confidence going into that map 3. Then it just carried, like I said, throughout the rest of the series.
I will say though, and maybe this is the time to fit this in. There is as bad as Thieves were at moments throughout this series, there is one moment in particular, Sam, that I don't know if you were watching this happen or if this is something you guys have talked about with the tick progression change, but in the 3rd round, Seattle put together, I think, a really good save of round number 3. If we could switch it here real quick, Ryan. This is dope. I don't know how much of this was premeditated or how much of this is on the fly, but to kind of give you a lay of the land, we've got LA in a really good spot. Not a lot of time left on the clock, 30 seconds. 1 tick of progress needed on A, no progress at all on the B. And LA starts to get the wipe over towards the B site and then also zone forward to get good control throughout the top side of A. And things become really, really dicey very quickly for Seattle. But I don't know how much this is in your guys' playbook here, Sam, but obviously we know a lot of teams will try to delay and look for an extra exit somewhere. And Pred makes this call to take the full wrap. I don't know if you can see this by watching Ryan's screen.
Yeah, I can.
So Pred takes the route off spawn to go down low. And as soon as you start to see Envoy push forward, he's going to get Sib to spawn with him right on top. And they're going to not just double hit B, but you guys actually set up a bit of a zone here where one player will jump on and everybody else starts to zone forward to retake mid map to allow an opportunity to essentially cut LA Thieves into 2 pieces. I don't know how much of this is a preset strategy, but it's a really solid look.
I just see Sam smirking.
Saves it, right? Yeah. Talk me through this play here. Was this something that you guys had worked through before, or is this just like a good adjustment?
I mean, it's stuff that there's a lot of things we've talked about. I can't go in depth too far. There's a lot of things we've talked about. We know how to play gauging off the spawns we got. That's something we've talked about multiple times, is like, okay, like if we know they have pressure pushing up mid and you're spawning B, that means there's probably no one that close. So the goal in this situation is to stop the clock.
Yeah,
stop
absolutely.
the clock, even if it's for a split second, because when you do that, like we had a scrim against Optic where one person jumped on B and we watched all of Optic literally just slide straight from A back to B to get him off, and then it reopened A. Dante came off spawn, grabbed A right away, and we started taking both points at the same time. And when you do that, the team's brain starts to malfunction on the map. They're like, what point did we get him off of?
Slide bomb on, bro.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that was bad. Like, one thing I like though during the situation is when we take A, look how many lives they have left. They have 4.
Oh yeah, no,
they have 4. They have 4 to defend B, and there was game over after that, bro.
Yep.
Like. Yeah. A lot of people try to rush cap points. Like, you don't need to. I mean, you have over a minute to start, play some kills, wear their life count down, because a lot of people are going to... I think a lot of teams, I don't know, it's different this year. A lot of teams throw lives away, like, recklessly. Like, we did that against LAG in the round 5 of the control. Again, Gav, we should have won. We got, like, good kills, and then we got waved again, and then waved again, and we went to B with like 9 or 8 lives, and I'm like, bro, this is over. Like, we get wiped one time. We only have 4 lives after that, 5 lives. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, even though it's ticks, it's still about playing smart with your life too. You only have X amount of them for the entire round. You don't just want to throw them away. So that play you're talking about there, yeah, it was us being smart.
Yeah, it really was. It's a sick call. I mean, because you look for people to delay, but the thing that was, I think, the most awesome about watching this is, I can kind of go back here and re-hit it. Was one more time. It's not just the fact that you guys get onto the B zone to kill time. It's the fact that they make the read to move back up through church and also back through mid to essentially cut LA Thieves into 2 pieces. Like, this is the most difficult decision you could possibly make in the world. So, like, I feel like a lot of teams would just, like, let's get here, let's push up to the heady, and let's just hope that we can hold. But, like, that proactive play is what actually I think is the most impressive part about this. It's not just the fact that we got some killing at the time, but we know that we need to also play forward for kills to allow an opportunity for accuracy to get back to A.
I think if you know how Control's played and how it should be played, I think it's an easy read on doing this, because you know that, let's say, for example, when they're making that play, 1 or 2 of us get to the back and kill 1 or 2 people, they're going to stress that someone's in your spawn. So instinctively, people are going to want to try to back up to play that, or they're going to malfunction and not know what to do. That's kind of what we did. They're usually going to be like, chalk A. Like, any smart team in this situation right there has chalked A way before they did. And see, that's why, I mean, if you go back to the last series LET played, and you watch their Gav control, they beat LAG in one of the rounds on, I think it was their LAG's last offense. They kept reflooding A over and over again. If they didn't stop LAG, they would have went into B like down 9-4 in lives or something.
Yeah.
Like they take so many risks like that, and they just did it again. And this time it didn't work. Like I was talking to Pret about this. I was like, it's the high percentage plays that you have to make in a game mode like Control. It's the third map of the series. It's the swing map, and if you can't play that right, bro, you're gonna have a hard time winning a lot of series consistently.
That's facts.
Yep.
And you know, if you watch them play Control, they try to get away with plays like that. And I told my guys, I'm like, right before we played that Control yesterday, I let them like, hey, all of you, if we have to chalk A, chalk it. I was like, I'm not, you know, opposed to that. And I think it was like the first round 2 we had, I think we chalked A relatively early.
Yeah,
like it was like 20. It was like 25 to 24 or something like that.
Yep. And you guys got a lot of map position in the bottom of the map because of it.
Yep.
Exactly. Like you don't need to throw your lives away today, but I mean, go ahead and keep doing it. That's fine with me too.
We'll let you stop talking there so you don't give away too many secrets of the Seattle Surge. Now, but overall, I think you guys did a good job of handling business yesterday. I think it was a good bounce back win for you guys and good confidence boost going into the major. I know I've talked about it a lot. I think it's huge to go into a major tournament on a win. And then obviously we can talk about it later in the show about how you guys' chances of getting in the major are pretty high. There's a slim chance that you don't go into winner's bracket, but I think you guys got a good opportunity to start into winner. So that's huge for you guys and a big bounce back win. And overall, like I said, I think you guys handled business. I don't know, Alan or Sam, if you guys have anything else to touch on it. If not, kind of going to transfer things over to the second match of the day. We saw the Boston Breach go up against the Florida Mutineers. And this one wasn't. Whoa. It was a banger series, map 2 and 3. It was very close, but I mean, we just saw Boston Breach handle business, right? Like I think we talked about them a lot, Alan, on the show. It's like this was a deciding series yesterday. We said for them going up against Florida to see kind of where they are in the standings and how they're going to handle business versus this Florida team. And we saw them do it, right? They did it in a 3-0 fashion, whether map 2 and 3 were close or not. They clutched up and they won the series 3-0. And I think on the side of Boston, just another incredible series out of Methods. He's been continuing to fry. He's had a lot of people talking about him. And I know he was put in a rough situation going into this year, getting the 12th spot in the league. And I think he's shown out and shown every reason why he deserves to be in the league. And I'm really honestly proud of him to see the kind of bounce back that he's had over even just this last stage of the qualifiers. Like, he's been frying, dude. He's been absolutely playing great.
TJ's been solid too, man. And you have to go back to the, you know, I was one of the most kind of violent opinions when it came down to, like, you're taking Caps and Nero at the beginning of the year. Like, talk about way more risk than potential reward. And they both have really shined this year. So, you know, you kind of have to give credit where credit is due, looking at Dens and Zed, you know, working the backside of that. I don't know how much scouting went into it, how much of that was really on them. But, hey, man, they put together a really solid team. And like I mentioned, like a couple of days ago last week, it's like this team is progressing at an unreal rate. The other thing about this series, by the way, when we were looking at this, it was like, look, you take away one of Florida's go-to maps in either of the two modes, these guys are lost, bro. And we have now absolutely seen that, because I think Boston did ban the Bocage, and I think the other map was going to be Berlin if we got to 4. Like, we picked these maps perfectly yesterday, Josiah, and I think that is another thing for Florida. It's like, you cannot ride the same pony to success while teams are getting better around you on more maps. So I'm happy with where Florida is, but they need to continue to open up their map pool, because getting smoked 2 times in a row on a Gavudu, haven't seen them play Berlin a single time, and the last times we've seen them play Tuscan, that was before the change, and even those weren't really enlightening experiences. Like, their hard point, I would say, is in more trouble than I think we think it is, because they're only playing Bocage.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's something we've seen even with, like, the LA Thieves team, to talk on that again. Like, we saw them with the auto veto. We were talking about it in the Bocage. It's just basically instantly gone, and allows teams to kind of play with the vetoes and just decide what hard points they want to play in a way. So I don't know, on the Florida side, they got to figure that out for sure. Figure out like a stronger map pool and hard point, get more comfortable on some of the maps. Just that way they can actually take some of these top teams the distance and kind of control the vetoes. Because I think you've seen just even we saw them play back-to-back versus Faze and Optic. They fall short, and it's kind of just to me, it just gives me flashbacks every time I think of Florida. They're just kind of like the middle of the pack team, and they can do good or they can do terrible. It's like really no in between. You don't know what Florida you're going to get on the day.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Sam, have you guys played Boston too much lately? I mean, these guys look they look good, man. I can't lie. Like I've been on the fence for them for a long time. I haven't wanted to put them really in that like top 4 era, but I think through this stage so far, they've shown why they kind of deserve to be up there. I think they've been handling business through the entirety of this stage.
I mean, yeah, we've scrimmed them quite a few times. I mean, we've scrimmed a lot of teams, and I think we've been like going nuts on a lot of people just because we've made our improvements. But I will say this, tag on to what you said. You know, Zinni, you know, had our back on the flank when Pat was going at us. So I'll have his back. Like, yeah, he had to have a lot of mental fortitude to get back to where he is right now.
Yeah.
Because he was in a dark place. And for him to be able to bounce back and play extremely good. I feel like his play style's even changed quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Like before, I feel like he used to be like trying to gun people. Now I genuinely feel like he's playing around the team a lot. He's playing in the hill, like he's hitting rotations from. His S&D's on point. His control's really good. And I think the rest of their team's not bad. But again, just like for us, we'll see what happens when they hit their adversity. Because every team has adversity during the year. It's just a matter of when. I was more so happy ours happened now. So you get out of the way early and don't deal with it. But we'll see how they handle theirs. But they definitely aren't bad. Like, anybody that thinks they're bad is crazy. Like, I definitely think, you know, a team like Optic and Faze are still those top teams. Boston hasn't had to play either of them this split. So I think who they play today? London?
Yep, they play London. They have never played them either.
Okay, yeah, like, their split, like, and it's not even knocking them. They played great this split, but their split wasn't like, I think our split was probably the hardest split this split.
Yep.
We had to play Boston, Faze, Optic, LAG, and LAT. Like, granted, LAT was in a down period, but they're still not bad. You know what I mean? Like, they're still a talented roster. Like, their split wasn't hard, but they still showed up and did what they needed to do. I mean, they beat us too. Like, can't take that away from them. And their coaching staff, I know they planned and scouted a lot. Like, I know Zach and I know Denz, and they're both very intelligent, hardworking people. And they got something, you know, good going on over there. Like I said, we're going to see how they face their adversity when they hit it, though. That's going to be the big thing. It'll happen to London, too. Like, if, you know, this could be London's adversity they're facing right now if they don't win this one today. You know, a lot of teams will face it.
I'm glad you brought that up because Alan and I spoke about it a little bit yesterday, too. It's just like you start to see when you get to this point of the year, like teams start to iron out and figure out where people are in the standings, but you also start to see people go into that little slump era of their team and whatnot. And it's like we've seen it with Toronto, we've seen it with LA Thieves now, and we've seen it with you guys. But it's like what you said, it's what these teams can do to bounce back from this, right? Will they crumble and just go into that roster, change it, and kind of basically chalk it up, or will they be able to actually improve as a team? Be like, look, this is the roster we're gonna keep. This is how we're gonna get better, and actually, you know, take a step forward from that moment on. So I think it's cool to see, like you said, what teams can kind of face that adversity and really improve from it. So big shout out to Boston. I don't have too much on this series, honestly. I think it was pretty quick 3-0. Like I said, on the side of Boston, they handle business. The guys look good. I think the two rookies are continuing to improve. And even to speak a little bit what you were saying about your rookies, Sam, it's just like same thing with these guys, Nero and Cap. They've continued to play well. This is their first time in the league. First time playing against these pro players all the time and scrimming against them every single day. And I think they've done a great job just slowing down their game a little bit, creating more consistency in their gameplay, and really not seeing those flop out series from some of these guys where they have a crazy bad map all of a sudden. But overall, Boston handled business. They look really good. And I'm really excited to see their match today. I think it's kind of like the true test for me to see where we're going to put these guys.
Yep, agreed.
Then this next series too was kind of like, I was really excited about it. And then I was really excited. Then I heard Spart was playing, and it was like nothing against Spart or anything, but it's what we talked about.
Starting roster.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what we talked about with Toronto. It's like if Vance were to potentially not play at the tournament, that's just like an asterisk, right? So like, for me, it's hard to really even want to put too much weight into this series at all. You have Spart tweeting out saying he was basically about to play like a round 4 or something of the 2K, and then he goes into play.
hilarious.
That had me laughing so hard. If you guys haven't, I don't know, Ryan, could you pull up? Hang on, if I get this up, you may want to pull this up. This is one of the funniest things I've ever seen on Twitter.
I know, Chris. Chris is comedy,
perfect, bro.
Pull this up, Ryan, if we can. He tweeted, "I was mid Challenger 2K about to play against Gecko, and then I blinked and I'm loading into Gavutu against Scum." This is possibly one of the funniest tweets I've ever seen.
Chris is comedy
on Twitter. And I will say, I want to go out and say this before we talk too much about these teams. Do not weigh too much into that series at all from Spark, because we've talked about recency bias and individual performances in the league, whatever. I will tell you, as someone who has competed, when you are playing one of these Challengers Cups, 2Ks, whatever you want to call them, and you're playing the lesser teams, I'm letting you know now, you're not showered, you're just hanging out in your chair, you rolled out of bed, you got the eye crusties, you're barely eating food, you're just hanging out, getting through the early rounds, and then when the tournament goes on, you go shower and get locked in. And I will say, as a competitor too, when you are locked in knowing it's game day, it's a different morale for the entirety of the day. Like, you wake up and you're thinking about the match, you're thinking about the maps and modes, you're thinking, like, it's all that stuff. So for him to have a rough series, I don't blame him at all. I don't put anything into it at all too heavily. I think he's a great player. He's been playing well in Challengers, and I don't want people to be like, oh, this guy sucks, blah, 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 blah. He played the best team in the game.
I think he came in and played solid, to be honest with you.
He played fine.
Like, I watched the map 1 and everything, and, like, people don't get that. Like, what you just said right there, like, when I wake up in the morning myself and it's game day, and even my players do, like, they're focused on that one match they have to play.
Yep.
Right now, like, okay, I'm locked in for this. I'm locked in to play LAT. I know what maps are going to play, this, that, and the other, X, Y, and Z. In Challengers, it's not like that. Like you're waking up, like, you're playing Timmy and his T-ball coach the first 3 rounds, so you're just like, I can just kick my feet up, and then they're like, hey, Chris, you're playing against Optic in like 10 minutes, and he's probably like, oh my god, what?
Yeah. I mean, that would
not only are you playing up against Optic, you're going on to a Gavudu control against the best control team in the game. Like,
and their starting roster, their starting LEG roster has never capped B point ever. So I just don't
stack that on there.
Like, yeah, hey, Chris, we need you to come in. We need you to come in and play the best team.
Fact?
That's a stat. Yeah, it is.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So
crazy. What?
It's crazy. I don't even want to, like I said, go into too much depth unless either of you have anything to really talk about. But I think overall, Optic handled business as they should. They're playing a pickup team basically with 30-minute notice on the LAG side. LAG had looked good going into this series. Obviously, they fall short with Spart. They kept it somewhat competitive on some of the maps, but overall, they lost 3-0. And I'm still very excited to see what LAG can do going into the major and whatnot. And hopefully, Pierce will be feeling better and be able to compete and kind of play it 100%. But Alan, I don't know if you have anything else. It was a very, very quick series, and there's really not a whole lot to talk about. So yeah, congrats to Optic. They handle business, and we'll talk about their real matchup today that everyone's probably excited for here in a minute. That'll transfer things into, what was this, our last match of the day? It was, right?
Minnesota, New York.
Yep.
Bro.
Minnesota, New York was. Yep.
Where do you want to start with this cluster?
I just want to go right out and say I called this one, by the way, specifically spot on.
You did. Gap count was perfect too. I don't know how you did that.
I think for me, on the side of New York, it's gonna be what Sam was saying. I want to see when these guys get out of the honeymoon stage and they really do face adversity. And I will give them their credit right now. They handle business, but I think they've played 2 lesser teams, in my opinion, in the standings. Right, you beat a Paris Legion team, and you handle business there. But in that time period, like, Paris was 0-2 with Jimbo. They're going into their 3rd series and they lost again. It's like, to me, I wasn't that impressed. But I think this one was a little bit more, it's like a stepping stone for me. They handle business in dominant fashion. And I think the biggest thing for this New York roster is you're seeing Neptune really play good Call of Duty, I think. Like, maybe not as far as, like, I wouldn't agree with all the plays sometimes he's making on the map, but individually he's performing. He's kind of got that swagger back. You've seen him make some great plays in that bow cage yesterday. He started off on, like, a 10 streak or something like that. And I know we've talked a lot about him, and all these guys kind of just seem to be in the element, and Paul X is still undefeated in the league. So, hey, shout out to that guy, man. He hasn't lost yet. He's went 2-0 with London, 2-0 now on New York.
Sam, you know Paul from years now. I mean, I
I've known him
won't
since
lie. I was
BO4.
expecting when there were rumors about what the Seattle roster is going to be at the beginning of the year. I was like, I am willing to bet my life that Sam tries to pull Paul and Tom together again. I could have sworn you were going to try to pull that double AR madness again.
I mean, yeah, I was looking at Paul, and I won't lie, like, I seen that Dante was an option. I was like, I gotta get this kid, bro. He's
Yeah.
so
Fair.
gross. He is so gross, dude. But I mean, Paul, like, they're playing good, like what Jerry said. Like, that's a big thing. Like, we just talked about it before. Like, your strength of schedule. Like, you don't want to like knock any team for winning because New York's coming from a darker place than what anyone else was at.
Yep.
And when I think that they'll be mildly okay when they face adversity because they have a good leader like Krim there. And he's not just going to let things fall to the wayside completely.
Fact.
We saw it last year with Dallas. They were struggling really bad. And Krim kind of just, took over, became a really good leader, and helped that team fight back into, third at champs? And see, they made it to a grand finals as well. So you look at that, and I think New York will be pretty solid. Time will tell, though. You got to see, like Jerry said, how that roster meshes after, like, the honeymoon phase is over and everyone loves each other. Like, when people start not liking each other a little bit, that's, like, when you start to see, like, how things are going to play out with the team and with a group. But, I mean, yeah, they haven't played anyone overly great yet. But they will. That's a big thing. Like, a lot of these teams haven't played, like, a lot of the top teams, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we've played Faze, like, twice, Optic twice. I'm pretty sure no other teams even played them that much. Like, fun fact, the only team to give Faze a loss this year in a series is us and Optic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are the only two teams. Like, no one else has beaten them yet. So, like, when you see teams like New York and, like, those other teams you're talking about beat Faze, beat Optic, one of those top teams right there, then I think then you can gauge, like, how good they actually are. Like, what I would say, I don't like the word potential because it could be something that's not real. We'll see what type of promise they have as a team.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
You'll see what type of promise they hold as a team. Like, all right, this team's capable of beating a top team, or they're right there. Like, they're almost there. Like, our match against Optic, we were like a hair away from taking that series from them. And, I think that's what sets, like, the really good teams apart. New York, if they want to get good, though, and this is a fact, the best control team last year won champs.
Yeah.
Had over a 70% win rate in control. Optic has over a 90% win rate in control right now.
Lost once.
They're the best. And they're the best team right now. Like, control is the most important game mode. And for New York, that's gonna be the one they struggle on the most because New York or control is it's like a little game of chess.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be smart. You can't just run around. That's something that we taught Pred and, like, Dante this year. This isn't hardpoint. Guys in the CDL are nerdy little dirty rats. Like, they'll sit in corners and they'll just play 1 or 2 kills because it's based off lives and all that fun stuff. So if New York can get their control down, they'll be a solid team. But again, time will tell. Like, we'll see how they pop off at the major.
Yep.
Like, that's gonna be the big thing for them is this major. Same with us.
I completely agree with you. I want to swing things too to talk about the other side of things. Minnesota Rocker, like, as much as we talk about New York, but outside of the reverse sweep versus LA Thieves, which we've now seen, LA Thieves are 0-5 this stage, so I'm not even sure if I'm impressed with Minnesota Rocker. Like, they have not looked good at all. Like, this entirety of the stage. They kind of tried to salvage things with making the roster, or not roster change, sorry, the role swap. They put attached to that AR and preset to the submachine gun, trying to fix some of their respawn woes, and hoping that it would work. And I just don't think that it's working. And I think it's fair to say that at this point. We've seen them play a lot of different series. And to me, from the outside looking in, on all these rosters that have had success so far in this year, I just don't think the pacing of this Minnesota roster team can compete with the top dogs, with the top 3, top 4 teams. I just don't think they have, like, the formula for Vanguard. I think if we're playing a different Call of Duty, this team could figure it out. But I don't know. The way we've seen some of these maps play with this roster, you don't really see them play Bocage a lot, and we've seen how that works for LA Thieves. They get kind of screwed in the vetoes a little bit. And I think you're seeing the same thing with this team. And then they don't really have, like, a dominant mode right now, or even dominant respawn. So it's like, I don't know. As a team, like, I can only imagine how hard it is. They put in a lot of time and a lot of effort trying to fix things. And this major, I think, is going to be the make or break. If they can't get, like, a top 6 run, I think you're going to see a roster change on this team.
You have to. I've got two quick things that I think will really reinforce everything you just said right there, Jerry. Because the Bacage Search and Destroy, there were 2 rounds back to back that were unbelievably bonkers. I don't know if Ryan, we can get the big screen going on here. But this one in particular, you start to see like this again. You could say Bacage Search and Destroy, a bomb site moved. That makes teams play differently, and maybe there is something to be said, but not on a play like this, where you've got on defense a player holding for sound and standy, and then a 3-man wrap to try to get around the back. This, in my mind, screams post-plant retake all day. If you can get around and control barn, you play retake at A, which means you have to forfeit the bomb getting planted in the first place. But what you'll notice is Minnesota does get all the way around the back. It's Major Maniac who gets all the way around the back side here and starts to find free kills once they realize they have space to work with. And instead of just holding that ground and playing for retake, they decide to push forward and get pieced by New York. This is like the definition of entrapment. Like, New York has absolutely nowhere to go. They're trapped. You can't play around backside water because you've got no information off the nades. You've got no exit in the back because Major Maniac is already here. And you've got a double hold from Grannies with 1 player watching the mid cross. There is nowhere for New York to go. But instead of holding these positions and waiting for a plant to come through at either A or B once they get these kills, they decide to continue to push forward, and they lose a 2v4 because of it. Like, there is no discipline here whatsoever. There's no reason that you have to give up this position if you're Major Maniac. And as he does, Neptune finds a free kill. He gets around the back and I believe finds 1 more for free because Minnesota have now lost complete positioning, which was at one point in time, everything that's in blue was in their control. Yeah. Everything was in their control. And they completely give it up. They end up losing this round because of it as a 2v4. If we fast forward, the next round, they get a free look at the B site with 4 members, and they have control of barn, they've got control of gate, and they have somebody who can contest this back street side. And what they end up doing is they get into a position to where they don't necessarily just wait for New York to make the first move. Players start to get kill hungry, and they throw away another huge advantage. It's disgusting. Like, this is by far one of the worst breakdowns I think you'll see in a post plant. Like, that kill for Major Maniac, that should be the round.
I remember this.
This was really bad.
Neptune. This is when Neptune smoked somebody after he defused the bomb. I remember this. Oh my god,
dude, this is terrible. Major Maniac is going to overchow. He's in such a good position. I think it was Chance that calls out like this spot right here. You have everything you could possibly want being watched. Literally everything. So now you're in another 2v4 situation. Major Maniac gets over aggressive trying to chow for the trade. Hydra watches his back, and all of a sudden you start to wonder about attach. Why are we still here? Why are we not trying to help clear up middle? And then the bomb gets stuck for a defuse.
Oh, God.
Like, those are back-to-back rounds that just cannot happen, bro. And none of that has to do with the A bomb site being moved. That's just absolutely atrocious play with numbers.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I don't know if that is so much like it's definitely terrible S&D play. Don't get me wrong. Like they can't allow these rounds to happen. But I swear on Bocage S&D, you see stuff like that happen more than any other map in Call of Duty history. Like you see stuff unfold that is just like you're sitting there with question marks over your head. Like this would probably never happen. 10 out, like 9 out. There would be the one time, you know what I mean? The 1 out of 10 time that it would actually happen. But like, I agree with you on the side of Minnesota. Like you got to be clutching up these rounds. You're getting bombed down and 4v3s. You got to just be playing trades, right? You know how fast the map unfolds. I don't care if it's a good search and destroy map or it isn't, whatever. Like we're months and months into Vanguard. If you're in a position to not play a trade when you're in a number situation with bomb down, it's just, you're sitting there, I don't know, hard on yourself. And I can only imagine how the VOD's going down. And I'm glad you brought that up, Alan, because unacceptable play out of a really good search and destroy team, and you're trying to close out a series.
I mean, I can tell you right now, if Equip saw that happen, he'd be having a mental breakdown. Oh lordy, he'd be sitting next to me in the office like, "What are we doing, man? Dude, what is going on? There's no way this just happened. We just got bombed down at B on Bocage. Like, you get the bomb down, you literally sprint to their back spawn. Like, GG." Yep. GG at that point.
The thing is, they had 3 players that were watching different points of the high ground through mid street. Like, there's no way you lose that round.
Well, I mean, in that round they had to guarantee that kill on Nep on bomb. Like, if they get that kill right there, that round's over. Like, it's done, it's over with, but they didn't kill him, and Mike overchallenged him to try to guarantee it. Like, and I mean, I don't blame him for overchallenging it, because, like, he knows he has to guarantee that kill. If he doesn't, then things are going to get mixy on the bomb. So he doesn't guarantee that kill. Hydra, you know, gets the kill for him, over him. Then Hydra gets another one straight. At that point, it's just over. Like, I don't know. It's just, at the end of the day, like, S&D, I think a lot of time boils down to just, like, mid-round adjustments. Like, reading the map, if you've taken that long at B and you're not seeing people in a certain place, like, you probably know that one's, like, pinchy. The only place that the person on bomb could have died to was tunnel.
Correct.
Yep. And that's exactly where they died from. Like, that boils down to small talk. Like, what's open? Like, what's open? Like, you call out, I'm holding this, and then you, after everyone says what they're looking at, you can kind of gauge. It paints a picture. Like, okay, this is open on the map. This is my soft spot, and you call out your soft spot if you're that guy in the bottom. Like, he could be tunnel. I can't see my tunnel from here. I'm just gonna pre in my tunnel. But they didn't get map control if they planted bomb. Like, they planted bomb and then just sat there.
Yep.
Like, you have to work the map. That's just how that works. Especially on a tiny map like Bokage. Like, it's too small. You can't just let people run at you.
But yeah,
like,
you have two players
map control.
Completely out of the play too, Alan. What you highlighted, you had a guy in barn, like outside of the map, and it's just like you have two guys. You're basically a 2v2 on the bomb side where the bomb's planted. It's like you lose those gunfights and you just see what happens. He just instantly sticks to the fuse. The guys are across the map, and it's just a GG at that point. It's just, I'm sure Minnesota's watching that back, just biting themselves. But I don't know, man. It's been looking rough on the side of them, and I hope that they'll be able to make a little run here at their own major. I know they obviously won't be making a change before the tournament comes around, but it'll be the Minnesota Rocker Major. I'm curious to see if they can turn things around on LAN, or if the woes are kind of going to continue for them. But it has not been looking rough, and I'm glad you brought up, like I said, those plays on. I think it's kind of showed the struggles that these guys have had so far.
Let's talk games today, baby.
Yep. I like it. That'll be the end of the recap for Saturday. I think it was a really good day of Call of Duty, and overall, teams handled business, man. Like I said, I was 4 for 4, baby. 4 for 4. I'm pulling away from Alan.
Our map count.
I did.
Predicted perfect. We both did, actually. Yep. We picked the perfectly.
So Banger
Jerry had a flawless day, baby. He's taking.
I'm high on it. I'm having another flawless day today too. Trust me. Going into the major, I figured out Vanguard. No, but today we got some banger games, man. I think this may be one of the better days we've had as far as competitiveness in these matches. We're gonna start off today with London Royal Ravens going up against the Boston Breach, and we kind of spoke on it a little bit, right, Alan? About this is like we get to see. I mean, not taking credit away from Boston, but they have had a lesser schedule through these last few weeks, right? They've beat up on teams that they should handle business first, and I gotta tip them. They have handled business. We've seen teams kind of struggle or go longer into the series than they should and not really handle business. But I think yesterday was like the kind of a truer test for me. They were playing a good Florida team that had looked solid other than against the top teams, and they handle it 3-0. Today they're going to go up against London, and London hasn't, I guess, I don't know, people like you were talking about it a little bit, Sam. This could be the adversity that they're facing, right? They've had some rough losses, and it'll be interesting to see if they can handle business versus Boston, or if the Boston train will continue. Alan, talk to me. What do you think we're going to see veto-wise here?
So we're not going to see Bokaj. London hates it.
Yep.
So that's already off the table. I don't think Boston will continue to even entertain the idea of Tuscan. They've been pretty much vetoing it since the change has occurred. So I think we get Berlin Gavudu for the 2 hard points, which are good for both teams. Like, I think this series is really just going to be down to literally the definition of who is better, because both teams are going to be probably preferring the same maps. The only thing that could be different is depending on who wins the coin flip, which controller are we going to get. Obviously, if London wins it, we're going to get Gavudu, which Boston's not upset about after their win versus Florida, I imagine. But it's going to be, I think this series could be determined by the control, if I'm not even lying, because both teams kind of prefer the similar maps when it comes to search and destroy as well. So I think we see for sure Berlin Gavudu hardpoint. The search and destroy is a little bit more of a question mark, maybe outside of the Tuscan, which London doesn't like, and well, Boston previously didn't like Desert, but I think after yesterday I wouldn't be surprised if they keep it in. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what we're gonna get for the search and destroy, but I think for sure we're gonna get Berlin Gavudu hardpoint, which you can't pick a favorite on those. I think both teams are very good at those maps. So
yeah, it'll be interesting because Boston said that their best hard points Berlin, and we know London loves playing that map, so it's gonna be an absolute battle on that side of things. And then I don't know, bro. What is London's record? Does anyone know their record in the stage?
9
They've
overall,
lost
or in the
one.
stage?
Oh, in the stage, they're 3-1. So
They
they're
lost one time, yeah.
okay. So both teams are guaranteed winners here. So this is just what strictly seeding, I would assume, based on who they're gonna play round one. So this match, I don't know. This is gonna be crazy. I don't know, Sam, if you want to add anything. It's gonna be. I'm excited to kind of watch it unfold.
I mean, I think that London just got Gizmo back not too long ago.
Yep.
And I know how that is because we lost Pred for like a week and a half. So it was kind of like tough on us for a little bit for scrims and kind of getting back in the flow of things. But I also think that London, being a very good team, was a team, and especially in hard points, that depended on breaking hills in order to win games.
That's correct.
And I'll be the one to say this. That is a very inconsistent way to win hardpoint. Later in the year, teams are gonna figure out, and they're just gonna start holding pre-aims and playing smart. If you're not rotating the hills and winning those rotations, it's gonna be hard for you to win. Right now, I think Boston will beat them. It'll be tough for London today. This is actually like, to me, this is like an actual like test for them, because if they come out and win this match right here, like that's going to give them a lot of confidence rolling into Major 2. And if they lose this match in the way that Boston's been beating everybody, which is like 3-0, 3-1, it could also be a confidence killer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be hard. Like, you know, Zen, like I said, has been playing great. And, you know, London, the series they've won, they reverse swept one. And, like, out of their last two. And then they lost one to Faze as
close
well.
series to Faze.
It was a close series, but we're gonna go into this again. They still don't have like a marquee win right now either.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't beat Optic or Faze yet. Like those are like the two marquee wins you can get.
Oh, they beat Optic once. They beat Optic in the first stage qualifiers.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
London did.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one down. All right, so I'll give it to them. Optic was kind of down horrendous then, but I'll definitely give it to them. But like, like right now they need like a big win. And I think today would be one of those big wins. If I wouldn't be shocked if London won, but at the same time, like I think Boston's just riding a hot hand right now. Like when a team hits a hot streak, it gets really hard to get them off of it. But we'll see. Like Boston definitely is the favorite to win this, though, for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, Gary? Who do you got?
Strictly off predictions, I don't know. I'm a big fan of kind of what I've been seeing from Boston. I think when a team kind of catches this hype, even if it's against lesser teams, like they're 4-0, they're feeling really good, and they can't really do no wrong right now. Like they're clutching up in moments when they need to. They're looking fluent across all modes right now. Like they've really looked good. And I think they've got a good understanding of what maps they want to play. I'm gonna go Boston handling business here. I think it'll be 3-1. We could potentially see a map 5. But I think they'll handle business 3-1. Like I said, I think across the board they've looked really good. And even to mention what Sam said, I've never been a fan of that #1 breaking percentage stat, because that to me says you're playing Call of Duty wrong. Like if you're just always breaking and consistently relying on that as the year progresses, as teams get better, as teams understand hardpoint and where to funnel people, how things are going, it's going to become a lot less consistent. I also think, just to hint on too, they got Gizmo back not too long ago, and it's kind of been shaky. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of the hot hand and kind of just staying consistent. I'm gonna go Boston Breach here. They haven't given me a reason to doubt them yet. I think they'll handle business today and show where they belong to be in the standings.
There is one thing that I don't think a lot of people are going to realize about this series, and I was curious if either of you guys were going to touch on it. Neither of you did. This is the only match London has needed to prepare for this entire week. They have every reason to come out fully prepared for what Boston's going to pick, with tons of film. And because of that, I love London. I'm going London 3-1. I got to trust Phoenix's old boys. You know what I mean? I got to trust in Gizmo in the mix, man. I got to go London.
They're definitely a good team. Like, you can't overlook them. They're not bad. It's, again, this is a series that's either going to propel them back into a good place mentally, or it's going to put them face to face with adversity. It's going to be one of the two. This series is what it's going to be for them. Like, they're either going to come out hot and win 3-1, or I don't see it going Game 5. Either that, or they're going to smoke them, or they're going to get smoked. It's going to be one of the two this series.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hairy series too, because like even just sitting there thinking about the stat, like since London is #1 in breaking percentage, just thinking of the way Boston plays and like how their rookies are really aggressive. It's going to play some fast, hard points. It's going to be a mix fest, I think, for sure. But Sam, who you going with? You going Boston? What's map count?
I'm going Boston 3-1.
3-1. I like it. I like it. We got 2 Boston and 1 London. Someone's gonna step ahead again. I love it, Alan. I love it. But I'm excited for the match, though. Like I said, I think it's a true testament for both of these teams, and I keep talking about it. It's a big to go on into the major on a win. It's just a good thing for confidence. It's a good thing for team morale. Even if you go 4-0 and you go off on a loss on the Boston side of things, kind of sets you back a little bit and shows you kind of really where you are as a team. And then London, like Alan or like Sam was saying, huge for them. This could potentially put them down a spiral, depending on how they bounce back from it if they were to lose here. So excited for the matchup nonetheless. And that'll transition us into the best match of the entire day, I think, baby. We gotta go see the head honchos of the league. I think everyone would agree right now they're the 2 top dogs in the entire game right now. You got to see Atlanta Faze go up against Optic Texas. And I tell you what, ever since that major, I've never been more excited to watch an Optic Faze rivalry. I think right now, more than any COD I've ever seen through the entirety of my career, there's more like beef and drama in a way, and like just an actual rivalry, right? Like we saw how the Optic fans treated the Faze fans through the event, and you saw kind of Faze bark back a little bit. And I can say on the competitive side, I like that. I do like to see it.
Same.
It creates storylines. It creates a really fun matchup. And I don't know, man. This one's going to be a banger. Like, Optics look really good. We've seen Faze now start to kind of get back into that form. Like you were saying, Sam, they've only lost to you guys and Optic. That is it. They haven't lost to anyone else, right? Then on the side of Optic, I don't know. Optic's lost to what? Faze?
I don't count their 2 losses.
Their 2 losses?
Like,
okay.
They were down horrendous. They lost 2 round 11s in a row, game 5. Like, that's just.
Yeah. I hear you.
The first 2 matches of the year, by the way.
Yeah.
So, like,
and they haven't lost since.
That first week of qualifiers, they haven't lost since.
Yeah.
What is Optic's control win streak right now? Are they on 13 yet?
They're 13 in a row.
They're 13.
So opening control.
So they're tied with London or Toronto from the
Toronto from last year.
Yeah, from last year. So if they win this, that's actually hilarious. They're going up against Faze, one of probably the better control teams in the game, with the new addition of Tix to break the record for most control wins in a single season. So I don't know. This series is going to be nuts. I'm curious to see what maps you think that we'll get in the series, Alan, just because we know that both teams love Bocage, right? We've seen them play a lot of Gavutu. We've seen on the Faze side, Optic likes that map as well. I mean, really across the board, these teams are very comfortable, right? I think they're obviously the best 2 teams for a reason, just from map pool alone. They don't really mind playing a lot of the maps as far as respawn goes.
Agreed.
I think you're going to see Berlin Gav, to be honest with you.
Yeah?
Really? You think that Optic's going to let Berlin in?
I do. Because they beat a Bocage last time they played Faze. Because Faze is very, very, very good at Bocage, and they put it on Optic pretty hard the last time I played them on that. I can see Optic letting it slide because they know that Faze, the last time they played Berlin was against us, and we put them in a blender. So because like Optic,
that's tough.
Optic vetoed that against us, Berlin. Like, they didn't want that, but I could see it being Gav Berlin or Gav Tuscan. I don't see Optic letting Bocage stay in the series. If they do, I'm gonna be honest, I think they're trolling a little bit, because I think Faze is really, really good at Bocage right now. Like, we put Optic down on Bocage and outslayed them heavily. Like, that map wasn't even like really that scary for us. And if we're doing that and Faze is also very good like we are, I don't see why you'd let that map stay in.
Even a touch on it too from the major, like Faze played them on Bocage and they dominated. Like, you heard Abizi and Sem screaming in the listen-ins, like, guys were going nuts. I think I agree with you completely. I think if you're Optic, you definitely get rid of Bocage and you just square up on any other map. I think you'd feel very comfortable, in my opinion, on that.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I could see if you're gonna play your most vetoed map, if you're Optic, you might as well do it. The thing is, like, will Faze let Berlin through in the first place? That's where I think the question is. I think it just comes down to which team feels most confident about Tuscan Hardpoint right now with the recent change. We know how Arcades has been on Twitter talking about P3, so I don't know. I think for Optic to get the chance to even play Berlin, you have to make sure that Atlanta doesn't veto it in the first place. I think if anything, we definitely see Gavutu, and then it's just a question of what does Optic want to play least? Would they rather play Tuscan or would they rather play Bacage? I think that's kind of where the decision will be, because I don't think Atlanta's going to let Berlin get through.
I mean, if you're a betting man in this series, you play Tuscan. No one knows how to play it really.
That's facts. I think that's true.
And you like, but that's like, to me, I'd almost rather take that chance if I'm Optic rather than letting Bocage slip through. If you let Bocage slip through, you know there's a pretty high chance that you're not winning that map.
Yeah, so you're going Gav Tuscan for the 2 hard points then, probably?
Yeah, Gav Tuscan, Gav Berlin.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll say this,
Faze
looked pretty good on Berlin lately. I'll say that. So
right.
They haven't looked bad. Like, I mean, after we diced them up on that map, Faze is the type of team where you dice them up on a map and they're gonna go play that map. Crowder is gonna make them play it over and over again, and he's gonna harp on it super hard during that to get them better at it. That's just the type of coach he is. So I could definitely see Berlin getting in, but if it's not, it'd probably be Gav Tuscan, to be honest with you. I don't think
we know we're going to get Tuscan control. That much is for sure. Because both teams hate playing Gavudu.
Yeah.
And then I think we get Berlin Tuscan for the searches again, like we had in the past 2 series. I think we get those 2 again.
Agreed.
Whew. My body's ready for this series. Let me tell you. I think it's gonna be a banger, dude. I just can't wait. Like I don't know. It's fun to watch like the 2 top teams in the league kind of go at it and really battle it out. And I don't know. It's always a fun series to watch, and you get to learn a lot. And sometimes people will break out some nerdy stuff. I'm curious on the side of Optic too, though. If you play with vetoes at all here, like if this really means a ton going into the major, like you're already basically guaranteed a top seed. You know, you're starting a winners bracket. You're 4-0. You're chilling. I'm just curious to see if they experiment, I guess, a little bit playing some of the top dog. Like they're playing the best competition right now. Like, do you try, like, assuming the tournament goes as people would think, you're going to play them later on at the major, do you test the map pool right now online in a match that kind of means nothing in a way? I don't know. I don't know if they would do that or not. I mean, I think they should, in my opinion. I think that this is a good opportunity to kind of play Faze on some of your weaker maps and see really where you kind of match up against them, because you could play with vetoes and longevity. Like, say major goes on and they end up squaring up in the winners bracket or something like that, then now you kind of have an idea, or you have film, or you have something, you know what I mean, to kind of go off of. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what Rambo Ray does. I know he said a little bit that they were experimenting with their map pool. So
the guy's a nerd, bro.
They didn't though, really. That's the thing. Like even versus LAG, they really didn't, outside of playing Gavudu Control on Desert Seed Surge, which I guess is a little bit of playing with it, but
I mean, it's more. I guess
who had the control veto in that, and I think LAG had the control veto that game. So
I don't know.
Absolutely did, because Optic has never vetoed Tuscan Control, so the 100% LAG had the coin flip that round.
Yep,
yeah, I don't know.
Whew, it's gonna be a banger, baby. But I don't know. Like I said, I can't wait for the match, and I'm ready for predictions if you are, Alan. I don't know. This is gonna be. I don't know if we're gonna be split. I have no idea what you're thinking right now, because this series is nuts, dude. I'm gonna put it over to Sam real quick. I want to get his opinion, and then I want to hear Alan's, and then I'll go last, because I don't know which way. I'm still up in the air about it a little bit.
I have Faze winning this 3-1.
3-1. Okay.
I think, even though they've, like, in a sense, hit a dip to most people, because it's Faze, them losing 1 or 2 series is like big to people. So, but knowing Chris the way I do, or Crowder, like, they've been going pretty hard. I think they will take like the first 2 maps again, and again, Optic in their control. It's just gonna be that's a mission right there to beat them in that mode.
Yeah, for real.
But I think Faze will bounce us back and win this 3-1. I'm not saying they're going to smoke them on any of the maps, but I do think they'll close us out 3-1. I just, again, knowing Crowder the way I do, I think they're good. They've been prepped for this series now, especially since the last time they lost. Like, Faze is that type of team where you beat them once and, like, they do come back, like, strong. I mean, we beat them both times that we've played them now, but they do come back harder every time. So we'll see. And I know a lot of the Optic fans are not going to be happy with me right now, and I can see it already. Listen, calm down. Calm down. Listen, like, you know, if there's one person that I do think has a big influence on his team and the way they can perform is Crowder. I think he's a very, very gifted coach at what he does, and I think he's going to be one of the big reasons that, you know, they made the improvements they've made to get to where, you know, I see it all right now, man.
Kick him off. Kick him.
Chill out, chat. Chill out.
Troubles. Discord chat failed. Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
Don't give Sam no strays. It's an opinion, man. It's an opinion. Who cares?
Look,
No.
Okay, so he's going 3-1 Atlanta. I purposefully wore my Optic Faze collab sweatshirt because they're going to be tied up, locked up, hard to pick a favorite. But there's one thing you can trust. It's in a coach that not only has the managerial skills you're looking for, the culture building that you're looking for, but also a guy that's a scratch golfer. Give me Rambo Ray in 4.
I love it. I love it. I love it. The confidence, it's there. Oh,
Understand,
man.
I respect Ray. I respect Ray heavily. Like, Ray's an amazing coach too. Not taking that away from him. This is a hard series. Okay, Alan, I get it. You like golf, man. No, like in a serious note, like they're both amazing coaches and both amazing teams. Like this isn't an easy pick for anyone to make.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I said this yesterday too. It's like when you see someone, what did they ask Alan yesterday? Was someone asked if I thought Faze was under, like, what was that question? You remember what I'm talking about? It was something about if Faze was lesser than Optic, basically, is what they were hinting. And I was saying that I think that they're the two best teams in the game, and when these guys go against each other, like they could play 10 times, I think you'd see it almost split down 5-5. Like it's just gonna be a battle every time, no matter how much homework Faze is done, or no matter how much homework Optic's done. Like someone's just gonna come out and fry, and whoever's playing better Call of Duty that day. I don't know, man. I think Optics look really good. It's crazy. I'm so high, and we talked about it a little bit. Sam, you mentioned it. Teams that win Control win championships, and it's kind of like the swing mode in the series. I think Optics on a 13 win streak in Control. They're going to make it 14 today. I think it's going to be the deciding factor in this game today. I think it's going to go all the way to map 5. Optics going to ice up. And I think they're going to take it 3-2. I think they're going to be playing super loose today just because they are 4-0. It's really like a nothing to lose series for them. Obviously, if Boston were to win, I guess I don't know how the seeding would work for that if they were both 5-0.
Boston's going to get first seed if they win today, strictly off of map count.
Okay.
That's fair.
They've only lost like 2 maps so far, I'm pretty sure.
But no matter what, if both of them were to win, they get it?
Both of them were to win, Boston gets first seed.
Okay. But yeah, I don't know. Whew, it's going to be nuts.
I think it's a tough one to go at.
It's tough to predict,
and fans need to understand that too. Like this is a series that could very easily be a blowout either way, or be a close win either way for either team. Like you have 2 really good teams battling out. It's like when we played Faze, like that's something that could go either way in that situation. There's a lot of talent in the lobby. You just never know what's gonna happen. But with Optic, like you said, they have Control down right now. Like it's such a big swing mode. Like if Faze ends that win streak today in that mode, that they're definitely winning that series. But it's going to be hard, man. Like we fought as hard as we could against Optic and Control, and we're pretty good at Control. And that still wasn't enough. Like they're a good team. It's going to be hard for Faze to beat them, but Optic fans, it's okay. I promise. Don't worry. Don't hate me.
I'll throw this out there as well, just because this is going to be a great game of COD. This is my favorite time of year watching Call of Duty, because the little things start to really become evident in how much of a difference maker it can make into a series or map in particular, like choosing to rotate at this time versus that time. 1v1 isolated across the map could influence an entire map. So all of you guys that are out there that are avid COD watchers, don't just have it on a second monitor. Get into that mini map and try to pick out all the little things, because we're going to see a lot of little things make the difference in this series, no matter which way it goes. I'm pumped about this series.
Well, too, like even just to hint at it too, like I talk about it all the time. Like Vanguard has so many different things. Like it can come to COD's always been a game of timings. Like there's so many little things that could happen. But in Vanguard, more than other CODs, like we don't have trophy systems, so like team nades could be on point for the side of Optic or the side of Faze. Like just really using that fundamental teamwork, making sure you're ironing out those little mistakes and stuff like Alan just said. Like little stuff like that is going to be the difference maker when you're seeing 2 teams battle it out. And like even Sam, you touched that. Like this could easily be a 3-0 in Optic's favor, a 3-0 in Faze's favor. Like you're seeing 2 of the best teams go at it today, right before the major. And either way, if Optic were to win this, in my opinion, like on a 3-2 fashion, 3-1, 3-0, whatever, on the confidence that they've had going into the major, they're going to be a scary, scary team. You're not going to want to play them because the confidence will be at an all-time high after a 5-0 stage. And then if they were to continue that Control record, like, dude, that's insane. Like if they were to go on a 14 wins in a row in Control, that's nuts going into a major. As definitely being the swing mode. So can't wait for it. It's gonna be a good series for sure. But
Agreed.
unless you two have any final thoughts, I think we've kind of hinted at a lot of it on Optic and Faze. It's going to be a banger matchup. I'm so excited to watch that one today. That'll transition things into the last match of the day, and this one's another good one. We've talked a little bit about it earlier in the show. We got New York going up against Toronto Ultra, and this is like a do or die in my opinion. I assume Bance is going to be playing. I don't know too much on that situation. I know he tweeted out he had COVID the other day.
New.
I assume he's still going to be playing for the roster right now. I know that Hixie is currently in the cup, so I would assume that Bance is going to be the starter of the matchup today. But on the side of Toronto, right, like you're playing a New York team who's in that honeymoon. We've said that they've now handled business versus two of the teams, Paris and then now Minnesota. But Toronto's been catching L's, man. They haven't looked good, and it seems like they really can't figure out hardpoint, in my opinion. Outside of the two hardpoint wins versus Minnesota this stage, have they won one, Alan? I don't know. I don't want to.
They're like 2-15 or 2-16 or something like that.
Is that from the last major to now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't win a single hardpoint the last major.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
That's
So I don't know. On the side of Toronto, like I said, you're playing a hot New York team that is feeling better than ever. They got that confidence, the swagger back. You got Neptune and Hydra playing really well on the SMG side of things. And then Toronto, like they just can't figure it out. I'm curious to see what they will do today. I don't know if either of you want to talk on the Toronto woes or the highs of New York.
As much as Toronto faces some really tough statistics over their hard point, and even though we had mentioned a couple of different times, even in those losses, there have been a lot of very close losses, they still hold a significant edge in the control for this series. So that's where I think a big difference maker will be. I think the question will be, what is the map count as we get to the third map? Because if Toronto find themselves down 0-2, I think the chances of them reverse sweeping New York is minimal, just due to the fact that they've got problems, not just in the hard point, but their search and destroy map pool is very inconsistent. So I think for Toronto, you got to get through map 3 up 2-1 if you want to have a chance in this series, because this New York team is definitely playing with some high confidence right now, even if it is unstructured and maybe it's going to lead to some downfalls in decision making like we saw in the Bacage yesterday. But I don't know, man. I think there's something about this New York team that's looking pretty zesty. I think one thing we hadn't mentioned was Neptune is really making a case for himself to stay as a part of this team, when a lot of the rumors that were circulating before the initial change for Paul was that it was going to be a 2-player change. So I still think that the hot seat is underneath Neptune at the moment, but he's definitely making a case for why he should still be an integral part of this team. So there's a lot of different factors going into this series for both sides.
And to tag into what Alan said, like, I agree. Like, Toronto's my boys. Everyone knows, like, I'm close with Marky. I'm close with Jamie, her Insight and CleanX, Vance, Cammy, those guys. Like, I love all of them. They're great guys. But they're in a slump right now, and they can't win a hard point. And I think New York's going to have the edge on them in S&D right now. I think if there's like been one shining spot for New York, even in their losses, was like they weren't bad, like bad at S&D. It's gonna start out 2-0. I have a feeling for New York, because the hard points are just gonna be hard, like really hard. Like, we're a pretty solid hard points right now, and when we were scrimming New York, like, it was hard points. Like, as much as I want to see Toronto pull like a 3-0, 3-1. I just don't see it. I don't even see them winning 3-2, to be honest with you. It's a tough time for them, and it's sad to see, because I love the players on that team. And I, even being in the same league as them, I want to see them succeed. But they have some fundamental things they have to figure out, and there's just not enough time to do it right now. That's the dagger of this league, is when you fall into a pit in a game mode, you don't have and there's one less major this year too. So you don't have time to work certain things out. Like, you either have it figured out at most points or you don't. And I see New York walking away 3-0, 3-1 with this, to be honest with you. Like, I was talking to Porter, and that's the most confident I think I've heard him sound in like 2 years since MW, that they're going to come out and dominate. And I mean, they should have won the control yesterday too against Minnesota. They were in a position to do so.
Yeah.
And they didn't close it out. Toronto's control isn't bad, but it's also very mixy. It's never like convincing to me, not all the time at least. It's just too many inconsistencies right now, and they're in a down period. People are sick too on their team. Whether or not they say they're feeling better, they're still sick. Like this happened to Faze last year at Major 5. So I see New York walking away with this. I'll be gracious and say 3-1, but I do think it'll be a 3-0. To be honest with you.
I like it. I like it. I think something too that you just mentioned, and I've said it a little bit throughout the last few podcasts that we've been talking on, but I think in this game more than others, and even just the way the schedule is laid out, like when teams are going through a slump or in a rough patch, and on the flip side, when teams are doing really well and riding that momentum, you play so much COD in such a little time span. And like Sam, you just mentioned, there's not a lot of time to go in and fix some of these errors. And if you're struggling on a map and mode, it's almost like you got to get it out, or you know, you're not going to be able to play it because there may not be enough time for you to just kind of make a 180 and all of a sudden get really good at the map. So I don't know. It worries me a lot about Toronto, and I think what you said too, like their players aren't even at 100%. You just said they're like 2-15 or something like that in hard points.
That wild.
Yeah, I mean that's a terrible stat line, honestly. Like as a team, if you're basically guaranteed a loss in a game 1, game 4, like I don't know, that's just not a good look, right? Like you can't always rely on 2, 3, 5 when you're playing some of these better teams. And for me, I don't think I don't think Toronto's going to be able to turn around the hard point in such short time. So I'm going to go right into predictions here. I think I'm going to go with a New York win again. I don't know. I'm a firm believer, like I said, of like the honeymoon stage. Everything's gone well for them. They've yet to lose a hard point. Paul hasn't lost a series in the league so far between 2 different rosters. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that. And like I said, I'm a big fan of the honeymoon, and I don't think Toronto will be able to turn it around in time in this matchup. So I'm gonna go New York 3-1. I think they handle business. They take 1, 2, and 4. Kind of handle the series, and Toronto probably takes the control. It's a GG from there.
I love where New York is headed. The one thing that they have not been really tested on is not just caliber of opponent, but can they keep composure through an extended series, which I think we're going to get here because Toronto's going to for sure win the control, and I think Toronto will win one of the first 2 maps. However, I think New York showcases that composure today. I got 3-2 New York.
I like it. I like it. I think too, and I don't know how much you agree with this, Sam, and even having Equip. And I was saying yesterday on the New York side of things, I was worried about them a little bit with SND early on, but I think with the new additions to a few of these maps, with Bokage being moved, the bomb site, I think it almost like creates like a clean slate for these guys to like relearn SND where they're not so far behind in the chemistry side of things. Because like Desert Siege moved a little bit, but Tuscan spawns moved. So, you know, 2 of the 3, 2 of the 4 of the maps, whatever, changed a little bit. So it helps New York in a big favor, in my opinion.
They changed drastically. Like Tuscan used to be offense heavy. Now it's defense because like of the spawn change. Like they get to places faster. You can't just rush plant a bomb anymore. Bokage, it's obviously completely different. You can literally sit in your spawn and see the bomb. Like there's a lot of things that have changed. And with a team like New York, like you just made a good point, they're going through that phase where they kind of needed a clean slate on a lot of things.
Yep.
And now they got it. And like Toronto was never even like bad at S&D. It was more so a thing of like they just were never like super consistent. Like picking up Equip helped us like gain a lot more consistency throughout our S&Ds, specifically in like situational plays and mid-round adjustments and things like that. And that's something a lot of teams don't have right now either. Someone that specializes in that. I think that's key. I think us picking up Equip, like Faze picking up Tupac, those things are massive. Like having someone that understands that game mode is huge. But it's just, you know, Toronto, I would love to see them win 3-0, 3-1. It's just, I was just in this slump, and I know how hard it is to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they can't or that they won't do even decent at the major, but you got to win a hard point. Like, and they even know that. Like, it's not like me slamming them. Like, they even know that. Like, if you can't win a hard point, just one, because you can't guarantee both.
Yep.
Like, no one can. Not even Optic or Faze can. So, if you can't guarantee both, then you have to be really good at the other modes. And they're good at control, but they're not great. They're good at S&D, but they're not great. Like, if you're not winning hard points, you have to be super, super good at the other.
Have to be.
Yep.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I think too, even like what you said, like with you almost can't guarantee a 2-3-5 with how all the S&D has changed so much, right? Like no one has perfected these maps yet. with the bomb site changes and now the spawn changes on Tuscan. It's like, so you're basically guaranteed to have a search and destroy in the series that is almost a coin toss in a way, because we all know how the pro scene works. And as far as like S&D practice goes, it's not very, I would say, serious. Like I've been in the S&D scrims. It's hard to kind of get really good reps. There's nothing like a tournament rep in an S&D scrim or in a pro match. So I don't know. I think, like you said, you kind of hit the nail on it for me. I think Toronto's just kind of been underwhelming right now. Unfortunately, I think they could have the bounce back when their players are 100% and they have some time to kind of figure things out over when this off period, whenever, you know, the major's done and whatnot. But for right now, I'm a big believer of the New York train for the moment for me.
They're just
This
too
is
hot,
also
man.
this is an interesting point too, and I'm trying to find my spreadsheet I have from last year. I can't find it, but the highest search and destroy win rate right now is Optic at 63%. I want to say last year Atlanta was over 70 easily for the majority of the year. So like that just also goes to show that it's not even just being consistent in search and destroy in the first place. There isn't a single team that's really doing it to a super efficient margin. Yeah. So it's really curious. I didn't even think about that.
But it boils down to that third mode, like we were just saying. Then, like,
absolutely, yeah.
Like that third mode, but that third mode don't do you any justice if you can't win the first two maps, or if you can't guarantee one of the first two maps. Like at that point, you're getting into a place where you have to guarantee a reverse sweep.
Yep.
And we all just know that doesn't happen often, at least not consistently with the same team.
Yep.
So
I agree.
I think it's just when Toronto's fully healthy again and they get back in their groove, they'll be a very good team. They're very good. Like they're one of the smartest teams I've had to prepare for. It's like playing chess against them when you play them. Or like playing Faze is like a fist fight. Like you know what you're getting into with them. But like Toronto, they're very smart. They work the map together. It's just when your players aren't at 100%, you're in a slump. Can't win a hard point. It's tough winning S&Ds. You're not even winning those overly comfortably all the time. You're not going to be in a position to win a series. Like if we were in that position, I'd be saying the same thing about my team.
Yeah.
Like we can't guarantee a map 1 or a map 2. Like bro, like this is not a good spot for us to be in right now. But if anyone can bounce it back and fix this stuff, it will be Toronto. I just don't think they're going to fix it right now. That's the only difference.
And even on the flip side of things too, like I've said it for every series, but I'll say it again for these guys. Like this is a big win for either of these teams, again, heading into the major. Like this could be a make or break for Toronto. Like you could see them start slow in the major and just not really have that confidence under the belt. And we don't even know, again, if Bance is even going to be able to compete at the major, depending on the COVID results and whatnot. So it's a rough time period for them, that's for sure.
Yeah,
agreed.
It was 42-24 last year for Atlanta Faze, which was 65% around there. So
that's pretty good.
They're 40-9 in control last year. That's stupid.
They're the best control team in the game. It is ridiculous. It wasn't even close.
I think too throughout the year we'll see so much inconsistency in S&D just because of the maps. Like you said, Sam, like some of the maps were so like one-sided, whether it was offense or defense. So I think that creates like, I don't know, I would say a lot of the good search and destroy players or teams would say it's harder to be more consistent in a game like Vanguard in search and destroy, in my opinion, just from kind of watching and like how mixy some of the maps are, and with all the nades and no trophies and stuff like that, a lot of rounds could come down to just split second things or events that would occur that would change the round completely. But Alan, I just saw you said, so everyone, I'm down to, that's completely fine. Usually we would do chat questions today, guys, but we went a little long today. We had some really good conversations across the board from yesterday's games, and I think today will be an absolute banger. I appreciate you, Sam, coming on. Thank you so much, man. If you guys don't know who this is the coach of Seattle Surge. I know a lot of people have been asking. He's the brain behind the team. Go show him some love, mods. If you guys could put his social medias in the chat, that'd be greatly appreciated. His Twitter it's Sam Phoenix, correct?
Oh, it's Phoenix SRS.
Phoenix SRS. There it is. So go show him some love. And then you guys all know the co-host of the show down below me, Alan, aka Hold Shift, a goat in the scene. So go show him some love as well on social media. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of First Blood. It was fun. If you guys are watching with us live on Twitch, thank you guys so much for tuning in live. The numbers have been going up every single show, so we greatly appreciate it, and it means the world to Alan and I. So thank you guys for that. And if you guys are watching over on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel and drop your questions down below. We're going to be trying to bring on different coaches and players and getting their opinions And we're right around the corner from Major 2, baby. It's going to be a fun one, and it'll create for some good talk shows and some good podcasts. So we will be live actually on Thursday at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time for another episode of First Blood before the Major. Again, Sam, thank you for coming on. Alan, we appreciate you as always. Enjoy the CDL games today, and we appreciate you guys. And until the next one, we'll see you guys later. Peace.
Thank you as well, Jerry. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it, man.
Yep.